How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, October 4th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, now that the 2021 MLB season is officially over, I'm going to use this episode to, of course, shed some light on the players who were able to lead in their statistical categories in the National League as opposed to the American League, and because I did the American League in the episode right before this one. I think just looking at it from a grand scale of things, taking into account how many people from around the world are competing professionally, especially with baseball at this level in the various countries that baseball is being played, especially even in America with all the different levels of minor leagues. Out of the thousands, possibly millions of professional or of people that are trying to be baseball players, there are hundreds of players that are in the MLB, and only one or two people, only 10 people can make the top 10 of a statistical category. And I think it's worth recognizing that these players are some of the best in their sport, especially while they're doing it. It's more of one of those give them the roses while they can smell them. You know what I'm saying? But without further ado, I'm gonna get into it. And because with the American League, I started with the pitchers. In the National League, I'm going to start with the hitters who would go on to lead in these statistical categories. First, looking at the hitters in terms of the leaders in games played, the National League leaders in games played were Austin Riley and Dansby Swanson. The third baseman and shortstop for the Atlanta Braves, who were one of the two teams that played 161 games instead of 162. So, of course, they only missed one game this season. They would tie with J.P. Crawford for the fifth most amount of games played in the season this year. And then it would be a three-way tie for who played 159. Tommy Edman, the second baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. Freddie Freeman, the elite first baseman and reigning National League MVP from Atlanta. And Brian Reynolds, the center fielder from Pittsburgh, all played 159. They would tie for eighth in the entire league. Okay, now taking a look at the players in the National League who would lead in at-bats. The most at-bats in the National League were given to Tommy Edman, the second baseman of the St. Louis Cardinals, who just clinched the playoffs. His 641 RBIs are the third most in his 641 at-bats are the third most at-bats in all of baseball this season. Second in the MLB in at-bats was Ozzie Albies, the elite second baseman for the Atlanta Braves, who had to take over some of the leadoff duties after Acuna got hurt. Ozzie Albies would finish with the sixth most at-bats in baseball this season. Third in the league in at-bats was Paul Goldschmidt, the elite first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. He'd have 603 at-bats. That would be the 13th most in baseball, tied with Kyle Seager. Fourth most in the National League was Freddie Freeman, the elite first baseman from Atlanta. He had 600. And in the MLB, he was one of 17 players that had 600 at-bats. Fifth in the MLB was Trey Turner, the all-star second baseman for the Dodgers. He had 595 at-bats on the year. That would be the 19th most. And even though he had the 19th most at-bats, Trey Turner would go on to lead the league in hits. He would finish with 95 hits on the season, which was 4 more than second place Bo Bichette in the 148 games he played. That 195 hits in 148 games, that is a 47 hit difference. Second in the National League in hits would be Freddie Freeman, the reigning National League MVP from Atlanta. He had 180 hits in 159 games. That's 21 more hits than games played. Third in the National League was Austin Riley, the third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. He had 179 hits in 160 games. That is 19 more hits than games played, and those 179 hits are the sixth most in the MLB. Fourth in the National League was Paul Goldschmidt, the elite first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. His 177 hits were the seventh most in baseball. And then fifth in the National League was Adam Frazier, the all-star second baseman for the San Diego Padres. He started the season with the Reds, and he would finish with 176 hits in 155 games. That would be 21 more hits than games played. His 176 hits are the eighth most in baseball this season. At sixth in the National League, Brian Reynolds, the center fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, finished with 169 hits in 159 games. That's 10 more hits than games played. His 169 hits are tied with J.P. Crawford, Yuli Gurriel, and Salvador Perez for the 13th most in baseball. Seventh in the National League was Tommy Edman, the second baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. His 168 hits would be the 17th most in baseball. Eighth in the National League would be Nick Castellanos, the right fielder for the Cincinnati Reds. He would have 164 hits in 138 games, which would be 26 more hits than games played. His 164 hits are tied with David Fletcher for the 21st most in baseball. Ninth in the National League was Ozzie Albies, the elite second baseman for the Atlanta Braves. He would have 163 hits in 156 games. That's 7 more hits than games played. And then 10th in the National League would be a two-way tie between Juan Soto, the elite right fielder for the Washington Nationals, and Manny Machado, the elite third baseman for the San Diego Padres. Their 157 hits are tied with Mitch Haniger and Alex Verdugo for the 30th most hits in all of baseball. Now taking a look at who was able to cross the plate the most often, the league leader in runs was actually Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the elite first baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. The National League leader was Freddie Freeman, the reigning National League MVP from Atlanta. He would finish with 120 runs in 159 games. His 120 runs were the third most in baseball. Second in the National League in runs was Juan Soto, the elite right fielder for the Washington Nationals, who had 8 less runs in 9 less, or he had 9 less runs in 8 less games. Juan Soto's 111 runs are tied with Jose Ramirez for the sixth most in baseball. Third in the National League in runs was Trey Turner, the hits leader, as he finished with 107 in 148 games. That would be the 9th most in all of baseball. Fourth in the league in runs was Ozzie Albies, the elite second baseman for the Atlanta Braves. His 103 runs are tied with Shohei Ohtani for the 11th best in baseball. The 5th most runs in the National League went to Paul Goldschmidt, the elite first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, who are getting ready for their wild card game coming up. His 102 runs are the 13th best in the National League. Sixth in the National League in runs was Bryce Harper, the elite right fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's one of 6 players in the National League, and he's one of 16 players in the MLB with at least 100 runs on the season. Seventh in the National League was Fernando Tatis, the elite shortstop for the San Diego Padres. His 99 runs in 130 games are the 17th most in baseball. The fact that he only played 130 games and he had 99 runs is a lot of runs that he would score in that span. The 8th most runs in the National League went to the Cincinnati Reds rookie second baseman Jonathan India. He had 98 runs in 150 games this season. His 98 runs would be the 18th most runs in baseball this season. And then there would be a two-way tie for the 9th most runs in the National League, as Nick Castellanos, the right fielder for the Cincinnati Reds, and Max Muncy, for the first baseman for the defending World Series champs LA Dodgers, would finish with 95 runs on the season. They would tie for the 22nd most in the MLB. Now going back to the hit statistics, going to the league leader in doubles. The league leader in the league in doubles, there was a 4-way tie. In the American League, Jeimer Candelario, J.D. Martinez, and Whit Merrifield would take it, but they would tie with the National League leader, Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper, the elite right fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies, had 42 doubles on the season. Second in the National League was Tommy Edman, the second baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. He would go on to finish with 41 doubles on the season. That would be the 5th most in all of baseball. Third in the National League would be Ozzie Albies, the elite second baseman for the Atlanta Braves. He would finish with 40 doubles on the season. That would be 6th in the MLB. He would be one of 3 players in the National League and one of 6 players in all of the MLB with 40 doubles this season. And the fourth player in the National League in doubles was Nick Castellanos. He had 38 doubles in 138 games. His 38 doubles would be the 8th most in baseball. Fifth in the MLB would be Adam Frazier. His 36 doubles in 155 games would tie with Paul Goldschmidt's 36 doubles in 158 games. Their 36 doubles would tie for the 13th most doubles in the MLB. Seventh in the MLB, or in the National League in doubles, was Brian Reynolds, the center fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates. His 35 doubles were tied with Yordan Alvarez, Kike Hernandez, Matt Olson, and Jorge Polanco for the 15th most doubles in the season. And then in the National League, there would be a four-way tie for 8th in the league in doubles as Nolan Arenado, the elite third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, Jonathan India, the second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, Trevor Story, the elite shortstop for the Colorado Rockies, and Trey Turner, the all-star second baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers, all finished with 34 doubles this season. They would tie for 20th in the league in doubles. Taking a look at what's going on with the National League's triples lead, they would go on to have the National League co-leaders in triples, and also the league co-leaders with Shohei Ohtani would be David Peralta, the left fielder for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Brian Reynolds, the center fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They both finished with 8 triples on the season. Tying for second in the National League were Ozzie Albies, the elite second baseman for the Braves, and Jake Cronenworth, the second baseman for the San Diego Padres. They would both finish with 7 triples on the season. They would both finish in the top 8, or they both finished in the top 7 in the MLB. Fifth in the league in the National League in triples was Garrett Hampson. He would finish with 6 triples in 147 games. They would tie with Arise, Willie Castro, Hunter Dozier, Nicky Lopez, and Ahmed Rosario. And then tied for 6 will be a 4-way tie as Steven Duggar, Eduardo Escobar from the Brewers, Adam Frazier from the Padres, and Trevor Story, the elite shortstop for the Rockies, would finish with 5 on the season. And those would be the players that are making up the top 9 in the MLB in triples. Taking a look at the National League home run lead. First off, the home run title was given to both Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays and Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals. But the National League home run title was given to Fernando Tatis, the elite shortstop for the San Diego Padres. He would finish with 42 home runs along with his 97 RBIs. He would be the only player in the National League and one of 5 players in the majors who would hit at least 40 home runs this season. Second in the National League would be Adam Duvall, the left fielder for the Atlanta Braves. He would finish with 38 home runs on the day, which would tie him with Rafael Devers for the Red Sox and Joey Gallo from the Yankees for the most home runs this season. And of course, I think it's funny looking at Joey Gallo because Joey Gallo hit 38 home runs this year and he only had 99 hits. He didn't even have 100 hits this year. But this isn't Joey Gallo slander. But also alongside right under Adam Duvall, third in the National League in home runs was Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso would finish with 37 home runs in 152 games. That would be the 13th most home runs in baseball. Fourth in the National League in home runs would be a 2-way tie between Max Muncy, the all-star first baseman from the LA Dodgers, and Joey Votto, the first baseman for the Cincinnati Reds. Their 36 home runs would tie them for 14th with Jose Ramirez in the MLB. Sixth in the National League would be given to the elite right fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies, Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper would finish with 35 home runs on the year. His 35 home runs would be tied for the 6th or the 17th most home runs in baseball, alongside Kyle Seager and Giancarlo Stanton. There will be a 3-way tie in the National League at 34 for the 7th most home runs, as Nolan Arenado, the elite third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, Nick Castellanos, the elite right fielder for the Cincinnati Reds, and Tyler O'Neill, the left fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, would each finish with 34. And then the 10th most home runs in the National League would go to Austin Riley. He would finish with 33 home runs on the year. He would tie with Yordan Alvarez, Ryan Mountcastle, and Jorge Polanco, among others, for the 23rd most home runs in baseball this season. Now taking a look at who held the National League RBI crown. First off, the Major League RBI crown was given to Salvador Perez. Salvador Perez would have 121 RBIs on the year. The most RBIs in the National League would go to Adam Duvall. He would have 113 RBIs on the season to go along with his 38 home runs. He was tied with Rafael Devers for the fourth most RBIs in the National League, but of course there is a curve when you have more players on base, when you don't have a pitcher hitting. But of course, getting into the weeds, but going to the second most RBIs in the National League they were Austin Riley's. Austin Riley had 107 RBIs alongside his 33 home runs. Austin Riley, the third baseman for the Braves. And then third in the National League was also an Atlanta Braves player. Their elite second baseman, Ozzie Albies, would finish with 106 RBIs alongside his 30 home runs in the 156 games he played. Ozzie Albies' 106 RBIs are tied with Manny Machado, Austin Meadows as well, as he is one of the few players to finish in the top 10 in the MLB in doubles, singles, or in hits, doubles, triples, and home runs, as well as RBIs. Okay, not home runs, but definitely RBIs. And with a 30 home run, 100 RBI season, as Ozzie Albies has put together a masterpiece of a season. He would be tied with Manny Machado as well, as Manny Machado put up 106 RBIs in 153 games, 3 less games than Ozzie Albies. They would be tied with Austin Meadows in 9th overall for RBIs on the season. Fifth in the National League in RBIs, following Adam Duvall, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, and Manny Machado, would be Nolan Arenado, the elite third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. He would finish with 105 RBIs alongside his 34 home runs, as he's about to compete in this wild card matchup in Los Angeles. Arenado's 105 RBIs are the 12th most in baseball. The sixth in the National League was Nick Castellanos, who would finish with 100 RBIs on the season alongside his 34 home runs. He would be one of 6 players in the National League and one of 20 players in the majors who would finish with 100 RBIs on the season. 7th place in the National League would be a 2-way tie between Paul Goldschmidt, the elite first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Joey Votto, the first baseman for the Cincinnati Reds. Goldschmidt's 99 RBIs are standing alongside his 31 home runs. Votto's 99 home runs are standing alongside his 36 home runs, and his 99 RBIs have come in 129 games, 29 less games than Paul Goldschmidt. No disrespect to Paul Goldschmidt. And right now, Goldschmidt and Votto are tied for 21st in the in the majors in RBIs. 9th in the National League in RBIs was Fernando Tatis. He would finish with 97 RBIs alongside his National League leading 42 home runs. His 97 RBIs are tied with Giancarlo Stanton for the 28th most in baseball. And the 10th most RBIs in the National League went to Juan Soto, the elite right fielder for the Washington Nationals. His 95 RBIs would be the 31st most in baseball this season. Taking a look at who's been walked the most in the National League this season, of course, by a country mile, it was Juan Soto. He had 34 more walks than Joey Gallo, who had the second most walks in the Major League. He had 45 more walks than Bryce Harper, as they were the only 2 players that have been walked a triple-digit amount of times. Bryce Harper's been walked 100 times. That's the 3rd most time in baseball. Freddie Freeman, the elite first baseman and the reigning National League MVP, has been walked 85 times. That is the 10th most in the National League. 4th in the National League in walks is Max Muncy. He's been walked 83 times. That's the 12th most in baseball. And then 5th in the National League in walks is Andrew McCutchen. He's been walked 81 times, which is half as many like games as there are in the season. So of course, hats off to him. Andrew McCutchen's 81 walks are the 13th most in baseball. Now taking a look at the players that have been struck out the most in the National League. First, starting off with baseball. In the major leagues, Joey Gallo's been struck out 213 times, and Matt Chapman's been struck out 202. They're the only 2 players in baseball that have been struck out 200 times. But Javi Baez has been struck out the most times in the National League. He's been struck out 184 times. Second that is the 5th most times in the majors. The second most times in the majors that someone's been struck out is Adam Duvall's been struck out 174 times. That's the seventh most times in the MLB. Third in the MLB is Eugenio Suarez, the elite third baseman for the Cincinnati Reds. He struck out 171 times in 145 games. That's 26 more strikeouts than games played. His 171 strikeouts are the eighth most in baseball. And then there'd be a two-way tie for the fourth most amount of strikeouts in the National League. Tyler O'Neill would strike out 168 times in 138 games. That's 30 more strikeouts than games played. Austin Riley has been struck out 168 times in 160 games. That's 8 more strikeouts than games played. They're tied for 12th in the MLB in total strikeouts. Taking a look at who went on to lead the entire league in stolen bases, the league leader in stolen bases was Starling Marte. Starling Marte would start his season off with the Miami Marlins and finish it with the Oakland Athletics. He finished with 47 stolen bases on the season. Trey Turner would lead the National League in stolen bases as he had 32. He would finish third in the league. Second in the National League would be Tommy Edman, the starting second baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. He would finish with 30 on the season to be one of 2 players in the National League and one of 6 players in the majors who would finish with 30 stolen bases on the year. Fernando Tatis would go on to finish third in the National League in stolen bases. The elite shortstop for the San Diego Padres would have 25 on the year. Fourth in the National League would be Jazz Chisholm. He would finish with 23 on the season, and Starling Marte would have 22 for the Marlins. So even as a National League player, he was top 5 in both leagues in terms of stolen bases. And 6th in the National League would be a 3-way tie between Ozzie Albies, the elite second baseman for the Atlanta Braves, Trevor Story, the elite shortstop for the Colorado Rockies, and Raimel Tapia, the left fielder for the Colorado Rockies. They all had 20 stolen bases on the season, tied for 14th on the season. 9th in the National League in stolen bases was Javier Baez, the elite second baseman for the New York Mets. He finished with 18 on the year. He also played some of the year with the Cubs. He would finish 20th on the season. And then it would be a 2-way tie in the National League, as one of them would be Ronald Acuna Jr., the elite right fielder for the Atlanta Braves. He stole 17 bases in 82 games, which was half the season. He would have been on pace to at least finish at the top of the National League this year. And then Garrett Hampson, the center fielder for the Colorado Rockies, finished with 17 stolen bases as well. They would tie for the 23rd most stolen bases in all of baseball. Taking a look at the players that have been caught stealing the most in the National League, Jazz Chisholm's been caught 8 times. That is tied with Manuel Margot and Chris Mullins for the 4th most times in baseball. And then there's a 3-way tie for second place as Garrett Hampson, Juan Soto, and Jonathan Villar have been caught stealing 7 times. Taking a very quick look to the batting average leaders, the batting average champions. Starting off, the league batting title was given to Trey Turner. Trey Turner would finish with a .328 batting average as he would play 148 games for the Nationals, and he'd find himself on the defending World Series champs, Los Angeles Dodgers. Second in the National League in batting average was Juan Soto, the elite right fielder for the Washington Nationals, as he finished with a .313 batting average. That would be the 3rd best in baseball. The 3rd best batting average in the National League went to Bryce Harper. He had a .309 batting average, which was tied with Nick Castellanos. Their .309 batting average would be tied for 6th best in baseball this season alongside Tim Anderson. 5th in the National League in batting average would be Adam Frazier, the all-star second baseman for the San Diego Padres, who started off with the Pittsburgh Pirates. His .305 batting average is currently the 10th best in baseball. The 6th best batting average would go to Austin Riley, the third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. He would finish with a .303 batting average, which would end up being the 11th best batting average in baseball. The center fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Brian Reynolds, would finish with a .302 batting average, which would be the 12th best batting average in baseball. The 11th best batting average in baseball would go to Freddie Freeman, the reigning National League MVP for the Braves. He would finish with a .300 batting average. He would be one of 8 players in the National League and 14 players in all of the majors with a batting average that started with the number 3. Ninth in the National League would be Brandon Crawford, the starting shortstop for the San Francisco Giants. He would finish with a 298 batting average on the year. He would tie with Bo Bichette for the 15th best in the majors, and then the 10th best batting average in the National League would end up going to Paul Goldschmidt. The elite first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals would finish with a 294 batting average, tied with Kyle Tucker for the 19th best batting average in baseball. Taking a look at who led the National League in on-base percentage, of course, it would be the player that led the league in on-base percentage by a country mile, Juan Soto. He would finish with a 465 on-base percentage, meaning that 46.5% of his at-bats resulted in him ending up on base. Second in the National League and second in the league in on-base percentage was Bryce Harper, the elite right fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies. His OBP would be at 429. That'd be the second best in baseball. The third best on-base percentage went to Freddie Freeman, the elite first baseman for the Atlanta Braves. His 393 on-base percentage was the fourth best in baseball. And fourth in the National League in on-base percentage would be Brian Reynolds, the center fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he would finish with a 390 on-base percentage, which would be the fifth best in baseball this year. The fifth best on-base percentage in the National League was earned by Jonathan India. He would finish with a 376 OPS, as he would finish with the eighth best on-base percentage for the season. The sixth best OPS would go to Joey Votto of the Cincinnati Reds, as he, C.J. Cron, the first baseman of the Colorado Rockies, and Trey Turner, the second baseman for the LA Dodgers, the all-star second baseman, would all finish with a 375 on-base percentage, meaning that they were making it on base 3/8 of the time. And then at ninth in the National League, Brandon Crawford has made it on base through 37.3% of the time. That 373 on-base percentage is tied with Aaron Judge for the 13th best in the league. 10th best in the National League was Max Muncy, the all-star first baseman for the LA Dodgers, the defending champs. He is tied with Adam Frazier for the 10th best at 368. They are tied for the 18th best on-base percentage in all of baseball. Taking a look at slugging percentage in itself, the National League slugging percentage leader would go on to be the Major League slugging percentage leader. It was Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper would have a slugging percentage of .615, and slugging percentage is basically the amount of total bases divided by your at-bats. I imagine that's the number. I'm 98% sure that's the number. But then, regardless, he would finish with a .615 batting average. Slugging percentage was the best in baseball. The second in the National League would be Fernando Tatis. He would finish with a .611 slugging percentage, as that would be the second best in baseball this season. The third best slugging percentage in the National League was Nick Castellanos', as he had 576 slugging percentage, which was the fifth best slugging percentage in baseball. The fourth best slugging percentage in the National League was Joey Votto's, as he had a 563. That was the sixth best slugging percentage in all of the MLB. Number 5 in the National League was Tyler O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill's slugging percentage was at 560. That is the seventh best for the 2021 season in all of baseball. The sixth best in the National League was Trey Turner, as he finished with a 536 slugging percentage. That would be good enough for the 15th best in baseball. The seventh in the National League in slugging percentage was Juan Soto, the elite right fielder for the Washington Nationals. His was at 534, which was the 16th best in all of the MLB. The eighth best slugging percentage in the MLB went to Austin Riley, the third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. He finished with a 531 slugging percentage. His 531 slugging percentage is tied with Yordan Alvarez for the 17th best in baseball. C.J. Cron would finish with the ninth best slugging percentage, as he finished with a 530 on the season. His 530 slugging percentage would be 19th in the league. And then 10th in the majors in slugging percentage would be Max Muncy, the all-star first baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers. His 527 slugging percentage is the 20th best in baseball. Last but not least, for the batters, taking it to the OPS leaders. The leaders in on-base plus slugging percentage in all of baseball was Bryce Harper this year. His slugging percentage was .1044. He was one of two players in all of baseball to have a slugging percentage of an OPS of over 10. and it was him and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Second in the National League was Juan Soto, the elite right fielder for the Washington Nationals. He finished with a 999 OPS. That would be the third best in baseball. The third best OPS in the National League went to Fernando Tatis Jr. He had a 975 OPS. That would be the fourth best in baseball. The fourth best OPS in the National League belonged to Nick Castellanos. He would have a 939 OPS as he finished with the sixth best OPS in the majors. The fifth best OPS belonged to Joey Votto, the first baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, as he had a 938 OPS on the season. That would end up being the seventh best in the MLB. The sixth best on-base percentage in the National League went to Brian Reynolds, the center fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He tied with Tyler O'Neill, the left fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. Their 912 on-base percentage is tied for the 10th best in the majors this season. The eighth best on-base percentage plus slugging percentage statistic or number was given to Trey Turner, the all-star second baseman for the LA Dodgers. His 911 OPS is tied with Matt Olson for the 12th best in the league. The ninth best OPS in the National League was given to CJ Cron. He had a 905 OPS on the year, which would be the 14th best in baseball. And the 15th was given to, the 15th best OPS in baseball was given to the 10th best OPS in the National League, who was Austin Riley, the third baseman for the Atlanta Braves, who had an 898 OPS and who's had his name called in this quite a bit. So those were the National League, at least the hitting leaders, as we are transitioning really quickly to the pitching leaders. And the way I'm going to go about pitching, I'm going to start with the innings pitched leaders, starting with the National League because the National League had more pitchers that pitched longer. The National League innings pitched leader was Zach Wheeler. He pitched 213.1 innings, and nobody in baseball pitched more innings than him this season. He would go on to allow 169 hits in his 213 innings. That would be 44 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 14-10 record for a Philadelphia Phillies team that would miss the playoffs, and he would finish with a 2.78 ERA in that season with 3 complete games and 2 shutouts. The second longest, or the pitcher that pitched the second most games was Walker Buehler, the elite starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Walker Buehler would also pitch the second most amount of innings in the National League as well, of course, because, if it's the second most in the major leagues, it's got to be the second most in the National League too, I'd hope. In the 207 innings he pitched, he only allowed 149 hits. That would end up being 58 more innings pitched than hits. So, of course, Walker Buehler was doing a very good job of keeping the hits incredibly low. And then he would go on to finish with a 16-4 record for a Los Angeles Dodgers team that was 1 win shy of having the best record in baseball. And he would finish with a 2.47 ERA on the year. The pitcher that's pitched the third most innings in the National League was Adam Wainwright, the starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. He would pitch 206.1 innings, allowing only 168 hits. Adam Wainwright will go on, I guess the 168, that would be 38 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 17-7 record, pitching for a Cardinals team that had qualified for the playoffs this year. They're going to pitch against the Dodgers. I imagine he's going to pitch against Walker Buehler. He would finish with a 3.05 ERA on the year. And so far like I said, he has the third best record, or he has the third most innings pitched in all of baseball. The fourth most innings pitched in the National League belonged to Sandy Alcantara, the starting pitcher for the Miami Marlins. He would pitch 205 innings, and he would allow only 171 hits in those innings pitched. That would be 34 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 9-15 record and a 3.19 ERA as he pitched for the fourth best team in the National League East, as they finished just above the Washington Nationals for the fourth worst record in the National League in total. But like I said, even though he would go on to finish with the fourth most innings in baseball, as the American League leader would pitch 12 less innings than Sandy Alcantara. The fifth most innings in the National League went to Kevin Gausman, the starting pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. He would pitch 192 innings and only allow 150 hits, which is 42 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 14-6 record, pitching for the team that finished with the best record in all of baseball, and he also finished with a 2.81 ERA to finish the season. His 192 innings are the sixth most in all of baseball, tied with Jose Barrios. Sixth in the National League in pitching or in innings pitched would be Luis Castillo. The starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds would pitch 187 innings, allowing 181 hits, six less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with an 8-16 record, posting a 3.98 ERA on the season for a Reds team that failed to make the playoffs. The seventh most innings pitched was a two-way tie in the National League between Charlie Morton of the Atlanta Braves and Julio Urias of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Before I move on, Luis Castillo would pitch the eighth most amount of innings in the MLB this season. Charlie Morton would allow 136 hits in his 185 innings pitched. That's 49 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 14-6 record, throwing a 3.34 ERA for the team that would go on to win the National League East. And then on the other side of this, pitching the same amount of innings, Julio Urias would go on to allow Julio Urias would allow 151 hits and 185 innings pitched, so he would allow 34 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 20-3 record on the season alongside a 2.96 ERA. He and Charlie Morton, with their 185.2 innings pitched, they are tied for the 10th most amount of innings pitched in the MLB this season. And then sitting ninth in the National League in innings pitched was Joe Musgrove, who pitched 181.1 innings, and he only allowed 142 hits, which is 39 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with an 11-9 record, posting a 3.18 ERA, as he did pitch 2 complete game shutouts for a San Diego Padres team that was eliminated from playoff contention. And then last but not least, the 10th most innings pitched in the National League were by Kyle Hendricks. He threw 181 innings for a Chicago Cubs team that didn't qualify for the playoffs. He gave up 200 hits in those 181 innings. That's 19 more hits than innings pitched. And he would finish with a 14-7 record, finishing with a 4.77 ERA on the season. So those were the leaders in those specific categories. Looking at the players in the National League that would throw the most complete games, German Marquez of the Colorado Rockies, Adam Wainwright of the St. Louis Cardinals, and Zach Wheeler would each throw 3 complete games on the season. It would be the most in the MLB. And then there would be a 3-way tie for second place as Anthony DeSclafani of the San Francisco Giants, Max Fried of the Atlanta Braves, and Joe Musgrove of the San Diego Padres are the 3 National League pitchers that have thrown 2 complete games. Looking at the National League pitchers that have thrown shutouts, there are 4 players in the National League that have thrown more than one: Anthony DeSclafani, Max Fried, or DeSclafani for the Giants, Max Fried for the Braves, Joe Musgrove for the San Diego Padres, and Zach Wheeler for the Philadelphia Phillies are the 4 National League pitchers to do it. The only pitcher to do it for the American League was Sean Manaea. He did it twice. Taking a look at the National League save leaders, and first off, so we're going to start with the Major League save leader. It was Mark Melancon, the closer for the San Diego Padres. He would pitch 64 innings. He would finish with 35. He finished with 39 saves and 45 opportunities. He pitched 64 innings, allowing 54 hits, 10 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 4-3 record alongside a 2.23 ERA to finish his season. Second in the National League in saves and tied with Liam Hendricks for second in the league was Kenley Jansen, the closer for the LA Dodgers. He would finish with 38 saves on 43 opportunities. In 69 innings, he would allow 36 hits, which is 33 less hits than innings pitched, which is remarkable. He would finish with a 4-4 record alongside a 2.22 ERA. as, like I said, he tied for second in the league with saves. Third in the league in saves was Will Smith, the closer for the Atlanta Braves. He had 37 saves and 43 opportunities. In the 68 innings he pitched, he allowed 49 hits, which is 19 less hits than innings pitched. He'd finished the season with a 3-7 record, holding a 3.44 ERA. His 37 saves are the fourth most in the MLB. Fourth in the National League in saves was Josh Hader, the elite closer for the Milwaukee Brewers. He would have 34 saves and 35 save opportunities. In the 58 innings that he pitched, he only allowed 25 hits, which is 33 less hits than innings pitched, which is more than the hits that he actually put up. So, of course, Josh Hader, yet another virtuoso season from him. He would put up a 4-2 record alongside a 1.23 ERA. His 34 saves are tied with Raisel Iglesias of the Angels for the fifth most in baseball. The fifth most saves in the National League went to Edwin Diaz, the closer for the Mets. He had 32 saves and 38 opportunities. In 62 innings pitched, he would allow 43 hits, which is 19 less hits than innings pitched. He would also go on to finish with a 5-6 record, holding a 3.45 ERA. His 32 saves are the seventh most saves in the MLB. Sixth in the MLB in the National League in saves was Jake McGee, the closer for the San Francisco Giants. He would finish with 31 saves and 36 opportunities. In 59 innings, he allowed 44 hits. That's 15 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 3-2 record on the season as he finished with a 2.72 ERA to his name. Seventh in the league was Alex Reyes, as Reyes finished with 29. Going back up to McGee, McGee had 31. He was one of 6 pitchers in the National League and 9 total pitchers that had 30 saves. So, of course, I'll get back to that. So I will say that 9 players did end up with 30 saves, and 6 of them were in the National League. Now, jumping to the first player in the National League that didn't, Alex Reyes, the closer for the St. Louis Cardinals, would finish with 29 saves and 34 opportunities. He would allow 46 hits in 72 innings pitched, which is 26 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 10-8 record, holding a 3.24 ERA. His 29 saves are the 10th most saves in the MLB. The 11th most saves in the The 8th most saves in the National League went to Craig Kimbrell, the elite closer who played for the Chicago Cubs when he was getting the saves. He had 23 saves and 25 opportunities before he got shipped to the Chicago White Sox. In the 36 matchups he played, he would go on to allow 13 hits. As a pitcher in baseball, Craig Kimbrell has 24 saves on 29 opportunities, which is the 13th most in baseball. Ninth in the National League was Brad Hand, the relief pitcher for the New York Mets. Then he had the second most on the team. He had 21 saves and 28 save opportunities. And, of course, I had him as one of my elite pitchers as well. In the 56 innings he pitched, he allowed 43 runs, which is 13 less hits than innings pitched. He would finish with a 6-5 record and a 3.38 ERA. And then ninth place would be Daniel Bard, the closer for the Colorado Rockies. Bard would finish with 28 saves and 28 opportunities. In the 65 innings he pitched, he allowed 69 hits. He would finish with a 7-8 record, holding a 5.21 ERA, but nonetheless, he had the 10th most saves in the National League. He was one of 10 pitchers in the National League, and he was one of 19 pitchers in all of baseball with 20 saves this season. Taking a look at which pitcher was, allowing the most earned runs on the season. The league leader in earned runs that were actually given up was Patrick Corbin. Corbin would go on to allow 111 runs on the season for the Washington Nationals. Second in the National League was Kyle Hendricks of the Chicago Cubs. He allowed 96 earned runs. That would be the fourth most in baseball. Third in the National League would be Zach Davies, who is now on the Padres. And Zach Davies would go on to finish with that would be the fifth most in baseball, tied with Dallas Keuchel. Fourth most earned runs allowed was Aaron Nola of the Philadelphia Phillies. He gave up 93 runs. That would be the 7th most in baseball. And then the 5th most runs given up by a pitcher in the MLB or in the National League, was German Marquez. He allowed 88 runs that would be the 10th most runs given up by a pitcher this season. Looking at the pitchers that gave up the most home runs, Patrick Corbin gave up 37 home runs this year. The only person that gave up more was Jordan Lyles. And then looking at the pitchers that walked the most batters, the National League leader in walked batters was Luis Castillo, as he finished with 75. He and Zach Davies both walked 75. Lance McCullers of the Astros has only walked more batters, as he's walked 76. Blake Snell of the Tampa Bay Rays, or Blake Snell of the San Diego Padres, would end up being 3rd in the league in walks, as he had 69. And then tied for 4th will be Adrian Hauser of the Milwaukee Brewers, Tyler Mahle of the Cincinnati Reds, and German Marquez of the Colorado Rockies, as they each had 64 walks allowed. That would be tied for the 8th most in baseball. Taking a look at the players that will go on to lead the National League in strikeouts. First off, starting with the league leader in strikeouts. The league leader in strikeouts by one strikeout was Robbie Ray, the American League Triple Crown winner of the American League. The National League in stats leaders would be Zach Wheeler, the starting pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, who also pitched the most innings. He had 247 strikeouts. That'd be the 2nd most in all of baseball this year. The 2nd most strikeouts in the National League were from Max Scherzer, the goated starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, who started his season with the Nats. He finished with 236 strikeouts on the season, which would be the 4th most in baseball. The 3rd most strikeouts went to Corbin Burnes, the all-star starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. His 234 strikeouts are the 5th most in baseball this season. And fourth in the MLB is Kevin Gausman. His 227 strikeouts he would strike out 227 strikeouts in 192 innings. That would end up being 35 more strikeouts. No, 35 more strikeouts than innings pitched. And alongside that, Kevin Gausman's 227 strikeouts would be the 6th most in the MLB. 5th in the MLB in strikeouts would be Aaron Nola for the Philadelphia Phillies. He would strike out 223 batters in 180 innings. That's 43 more strikeouts than innings pitched. His 223 strikeouts are the 8th most in baseball. 6th in the league in strikeouts, in the National League in strikeouts, is Charlie Morton. He would strike out 216 batters in 185 innings pitched. He would strike out 31 more batters than innings pitched. His 216 strikeouts would be the 9th most in all of the MLB this season. 7th in the MLB in strikeouts would be Walker Buehler, the elite starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He would strike out 212 batters in 207 innings. That would be 5 more strikeouts than innings pitched, and his 212 strikeouts are the 10th most in the MLB, just cracking in the top 10. 7th in the National League in strikeouts was Brandon Woodruff. He would strike out 211 batters on the day and 179 innings. He would go on to strike out 32 more batters than innings pitched, and he would help the Brewers, of course, clinch the playoffs alongside Corbin Burnes. Brandon Woodruff's 211 strikeouts are the 11th most in the MLB. 9th in the MLB in strikeouts was Tyler Mahle from the Cincinnati Reds. He would strike out 210 batters in 180 innings, and he would strike out 30 more batters in innings pitched. And then 10th in the MLB, because Mahle's 210 strikeouts would place him 3rd in the MLB. 10th in the National League in strikeouts went to Joe Musgrove. He struck out 203 batters in 181 innings. That would be 22 more strikeouts than innings pitched. But of course, with this, he would go on to, in this, he would go on to pick up. With his 203 strikeouts, he's now 15th in the league in strikeouts. And then additionally, there's only one other player in the National League that has thrown more than 200 strikeouts. Is Sandy Alcantara threw 201 and 205. There are 11 players in the National League that have thrown over 200 strikeouts, and there have been 16 in the MLB this season. Taking a look at the players that led in the stat known as WHIP, or walk/hits per innings pitch, there were four pitchers in the MLB that had a WHIP below 1. And of course, it's different than the American League, because the American League, the only difference is like the fact that you don't have a pitcher in the lineup and you have a designated hitter, and that gets aggregated over time. But in the National League, the top 4 players in WHIP, or the top 4 players in, well, I guess the top 6 pitchers in the MLB in WHIP were National League pitchers. Max Scherzer would have a .86 WHIP. He would finish with the best in baseball. Corbin Burns from the Brewers was second at .94. Brandon Woodruff from the Brewers was third at .96. Walker Buehler, the elite starting pitcher for the Dodgers, so that's 2 Dodgers and 2 Brewers pitchers. Those are the only 2 pitchers with walks/hits per innings pitch under 1, as Buehler's was at .97. And then fifth in the National League was Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler would finish with a .101 WHIP on the season. And then last but not least, looking at the pitchers who had the lowest batting average against as a starting, or as the qualifying pitcher this season, the pitcher that had the lowest batting average against was Max Scherzer, the goated starting pitcher that shared his time with the Washington Nationals and the LA Dodgers. His .185 batting average is the lowest in all of baseball. The second lowest batting average in the National League and in the MLB was Walker Buehler, the elite starting pitcher for the Dodgers. His .199 was the second lowest in baseball. But of course, with the National League curve, you're going to see more pitchers in the top 10 than American League. Third in the National League was Brandon Woodruff. He had a .200 batting average against. That was the third best in the league. Fourth best in the league and in the National League was Corbin Burns from the Milwaukee Brewers. He had a .201 batting average against. Number 5 in the National League and number 5 in the major leagues was Charlie Morton, who had a .203 batting average against. Number 6 in the league and number 6 in the National League and number 7 in the major leagues was Kevin Gausman, the starting pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, throwing .210 this season. And then the 7th best pitcher in the National League in terms of batting average against was Joe Musgrove. He had a .213 batting average against, which is still the 9th best in baseball. The 8th best batting average against in baseball belonged to Zach Wheeler. He had a .215 batting average against, which is the 10th best in baseball. 9th in the National League was Julio Urias, who had a .219 batting average against. His .219 batting average against is tied with Lucas Giolito for the 11th. And then the 10th best batting average against in the National League is Adam Wainwright, as his .220 batting average is sitting by itself in 13th in the entire major leagues. Those are all of the stats leaders, or at least the players that make up the top 10 or the top 5 in their various categories. And I think it's very impressive to see what they've been able to do from the beginning up until now. I want to thank everybody for listening to this piece. I, of course, want to thank the MLB websites for giving me the facts and figures that I need. I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece. I hope all is well. And I'll catch you with a whole new season next time, but as the season continues, I will pick up with more episodes after this. And tomorrow I will do episodes regarding the players that have entered themselves into at least into their own special clubs with the stats that they were able to do. With that said, thanks for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more episodes tomorrow. Peace out.